A special New Ellen starts now.
Let's have a little fun today.
Here she is now, Ellen DeGeneres.
Hi. Hello. Welcome to my show. You know,
Over a 16-year career, this group explored various areas of music centered around jazz. They also explored various elements of art music, ethnic music, R&B, funk, and rock. While their work was often categorized as jazz fusion, the band members themselves generally rejected this. Our guest of honor today loses band members faster than old people lose hair. Help me give a warm welcome to Joe Zawinul of The Weather Report.
Hey, how's it going?
Nice to have you on the show.
Thanks so much for having me on your show, Ellen. I'm so excited to be here to tell you about the good old days when I was in my band.
Okay, so to start off, tell me about the instruments that you played.
I played a little bit of everything. When I was younger, my grandfather gave me an accordion. But when I was about 7, I studied some classical piano, clarinet, and violin. And then I really got into electric and acoustic piano. I later learned how to play the synthesizer, organ, and guitar.
I see you started off playing with Miles Davis. Was he your inspiration to start your own band?
Like I mentioned before, my grandfather bought me that accordion, which really inspired me to get into music. When I was younger, I would play at my family gatherings, but I'm really glad I had the chance to work with Miles Davis for a short time. I'm glad I had the opportunity to have my very own band, though.
Alright, tell me a little bit more about the band. How did you guys meet and get started?
Well, Wayne Short and I met back in the 1960s, working as Miles Davis's sidemen. We had a chance to work with Art Blakey back then. Eventually, Wayne and I decided to split off and start our own group, and we recruited Miroslav Vidus, who also worked with Miles Davis, and the rest is history. We formed our group, named it The Weather Report, as kind of a play-off of my favorite movie, Stormy Weather.
So tell me about your sound. Like, what genre do you consider your music?
You can't really fit us into like a specific genre. Every jazz artist is different, everyone's sound is different. Most consider us like a fusion group, which is a cross between jazz and pop. I really have a love for black music and entertainment. I feel like right now, with everything going on in the world, our music really empowers young black people.
So what happened between you and Wayne Shorter? Why did he leave the group?
Yeah, so in 1986, my buddy Wayne really just wanted to concentrate on his solo work. So I changed the band name to The Weather Update, because we agreed not to use the name The Weather Report. So I got together our electric bass player, Victor Bailey, and grabbed a new drummer, Peter Erskine, and we started making some music.
So did you and Wayne end things on good terms?
Well, we didn't end things on bad terms, but they weren't necessarily good terms. We had a lot of creative differences, and it was about time to part ways.
Well, Wayne is backstage right now. Wayne, why don't you come out? Glad to have you on the show.
Hi. Well, I would say we did have some creative differences, but you might just not have been able to handle that mine were better. After all, I won quite a few Grammys.
Okay, let's settle down. Obviously, there was still some tension. So Wayne, why don't you tell me a little bit about your instrument and your inspiration?
Well, I started playing music when I was 16, and after I saw Dizzy Gillespie live, I got myself a clarinet, and I wanted to learn how to play music. I started playing a lot on my own. Eventually got into the soprano sax in high school, and once I hit the real world, I started playing the tenor sax.
Okay, Wayne, Joe, tell me about Jaco Pastorius. He seemed to have a big impact on the group's popularity. What did he do for you guys?
He was a really gifted composer. He actually composed Teen Town for us. He was such a gifted musician. He played electric bass and drums for us.
Jaco invented this thing. It's amazing. Fretless bass, rip the frets right out of that sucker, and play some jazz, you know? Yes.
Hey, all right.
All right.
You want to start out? Why don't you just talk to us a little bit about how you first became aware of Jocko and what was your reaction?
I heard about Jocko. The buzz was on. Before he was covering 3/4 of the radar screen. He was but a blip on the radar screen, and people were starting to talk about Jocko. And you don't really make a big record of it when somebody just spouts out a little factoid about somebody. You just kind of go, oh yeah, okay, I'll check it out later. But then it started happening more and more often. I was in New York. People were talking about him down there mostly because nobody had heard of him outside of the Florida area yet. But those that had were saying, man, you got to check this guy out. You got to check this guy out. And I think the first time I heard some music from Jocko's instrument was from Bob Bobbings, who it's kind of tracked me down when I was on a trip down to Florida, and insisted that I sit down and listen to this tape that he had made of Jocko playing. I think it was with Wayne Cochran or something. And I was up here in New York, and I was a studio musician. I was trying to find, my temptation is always to play too many notes, So my temptation is that, and I was fighting it, trying to find taste somewhere within my own being, try to find simplicity and stuff. Because that's what's on most records, and that's what kind of works for bass, And this guy Bobbings puts this tape on, and here's Jocko, and it's probably something like say it's midnight hour somewhere, where the bass line is basically, right? And if you can play that with a groove, with some kind of like consistency, that's a great foundation for a vocal to happen on top of it. But in the case of the Jocko version, it was more like.
So Miroslav Vitas left the group when you guys started to head in a more funk direction. Tell me what happened.
Well, Miroslav didn't really like the fact that we were heading in that funk direction. He kind of preferred more of our original sound. Joe also kind of accused him of not being able to play the funk sound. And I kind of sided with Joe on that one, surprisingly. But after all that, Miroslav decided to leave in the end, and we ended up recruiting a new bass, Alfonso Johnson, and after 2 years he left as well, and that's when Jaco decided to join us.
So here on the Ellen Show, we are full of surprises. Miroslav and Jocko are backstage. They're going to come out and duke this out. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Ellen.
Hey. What's up?
See ya.
Sorry. Hello again. Let's go. This is just embarrassing. All right, I'm out.
All right, turns out Jocko was rightfully with the band for the height of their career. Why don't you come over and join us? Thank you so much for coming out and being on the show with me. I have one more question for you. Joe, why did the weather update end?
Well, everyone just kind of started off going in their own ways, working on solo stuff. Music was changing, so it was hard for us to keep constant musicians for several instruments. We still had a contract though, so a lot of my solo work ended up being on our last album.
Well, music is always changing, isn't it? Well, Joe, Wayne, Jocko, thank you all for coming out today and talking with me. So I was wondering if you guys would play Teen Town for us.
Yeah, let's go.
Alrighty then, hit it, Dr. Ice.